Tervepä terve also. Welcome to Rauta's Black Metal Reviews. Today's band comes from Finland, hence the Finnish greeting, and this one is Gloomy Grim with the 7th album Agathonomicon. There has been some rumors, or have been some rumors, that this might be the very last album by the band, which would basically explain the name of the album, because Agathon, the mastermind behind the band, keyboards, vocals, guitars, is the main man and so far, or anymore, the only one original in the band. That is, he has been in the band since the beginning, and since a few years ago, the only one of the original lineup. This release got out already, or at least it was planned in spring 2021, but sometimes things go south. The physical version, it seems, appeared to got into the band as late as late summer 2021, and hence this a little bit late review. But then again, music never gets old. That is, good music is good music, even if 10 years late to the game, to the party. So this one is the first full album by this very lineup nowadays, and it features a few other people who are kind of a veterans of the genre, so not exactly newbies. But then again, this is more or less baby of Agathon, so like I said, that probably explains the title here. Now, when I first heard Gloomy Grim around 1998, it was with this Blood Monsters Darkness, and back in those days, I think there was this overall feeling that this band was more about, horror movies or horror feeling in general, rather than your typical black metal band coming out with, church arsons and Satan and all that stuff. So it was more about creating this horror feeling, this atmosphere of darkness and, weird creatures, beasts, horrors, rather than your typical black metal one. And it was kind of a refreshing, even if not maybe suited for everybody. I remember listening to this album and thinking like, okay, this is pretty okay, but I never got to be a fan of that whole stuff. And then later on, I kind of forgot the band until it kind of returned to me with some of the review albums over the years. Now, what is left with Agathon is interesting, or Gloomy Grim that is, because it's a very different band, and at the same time, this is kind of like taking your time capsule back to the 1990s. The thing here is, Agathonomicon feels like it's a unique release by a unique band, and at the same time, it totally feels like something going on in the 90s, except that the production is maybe a little more of today's thing. Now, this new album comes with 10 tracks and almost 55 minutes. However, this gimmick thing, for example, this last track is filled with minutes of silence before it kind of restarts again. A thing that was way too common in the 90s, and I kind of hope that it's gone by now, because I don't want to spin a record then wait for say 10 minutes for another minute or two to some music come up. This is usually where I just hit the stop button like I did with the last spin of this album. I mean, there's some good riffing in the end, but is it really worth your time, wait for that? I don't know. But these are just minor issues with the album that is overall pretty good. Now, what to expect from Agathonomicon is something that I could say, describe it as a synth-filled, sinister and dark black metal with kind of a very, very dramatic feeling. Like, some people call this symphonic black metal, but I think that's of a kind of a overstatement, because to be honest, this is more an homage to 1990s synth-driven black metal, where horror and evil feelings and dark atmosphere and sinister ideas are, put together. But it's not like this is Emperor or Dimmu Borgir going to all over the place with orchestrations and all that. This is more about keyboards, laying down the very basic things. There are even some Burzum-like things, and I'm talking about Philosophem and Wisluset.Oth era rather than these modern days orchestrated symphonic black metal things. So there is that. But this is also something that happens a lot with guitars. I mean, well, guitars are not maybe so much dominating. Definitely these riffs play an important role creating Gloomy Grim feeling. Also, what is very much important is to notice the very strong raspy vocals by Agathon himself. And in my opinion, the vocals are really good. They are, in my opinion, some of the better parts of black metal raspy vocals. I mean, usually the whole spectrum of different vocals is not that big when we talk about majority of black metal bands. I mean, you have weaker kind of raspy vocals and more screamier parts and shriekier parts, but mostly operate in the something that we could call safe zone. Something to expect, but nothing too spectacular or original as such. And Agathon's style is not original maybe, but it's strong and really, really fitting for the music. I really like them. Now the production is a bit of hit and miss. Like for example, in my opinion, the drums are a little bit too much on the front, but that's not like it's disturbing or anything. Just kind of a little bit too dominating in terms of how the keyboards and guitar parts are more on the background. The vocals have their front spot, and I think they deserve it. But overall, the production is pretty good, so can't really complain about it. Now the songs themselves, the overall songwriting, compositions, it's pretty cool all the way. Now there are a couple of things which kind of annoy me, and the one was that the last track having these minutes of silence, which is just boring. And then on the fifth track, they are waiting. There is this ending where the songs that's just, is done, but the vocals kind of keep, the kind of a choir parts keep repeating that Legion stuff like way too much. But it's not like a deal breaker thing. What matters here is that these songs are not too lengthy. They're compact enough. They know when to end before it gets boring and repetitive and all that stuff. So overall, I would say Agathonomicon is a pretty good an album. It's one of the best ones by the band. It's not the best coming from Finland, but then again, it all comes down to your expectations. If we're talking about this dark, sinister, horror-filled black metal with very dramatic synthesizer parts and all, I would say this is basically top-tier stuff in that particular subgenre of a subgenre. Not for everybody, guaranteed, but definitely worth giving a shot. So give it a go, give it a listen, you will find links provided in the description box. I hope you enjoy it.